So my name is Laurel Bellman, and I'm an event manager at Do It. And I'm very happy to be here with all of you to introduce Ella Tschopik. And she's going to be our presenter for what leaders need to know about generative AI. So we are going to have some time at the end for questions. If you are attending the session virtually, just go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and I will read those to Ella. And if you are in person, we're going to have a mic that you can ask questions with. And I think with that, I will hand it over to Ella.
Hello. Thank you all for being here today, and shout out to those of you online. I see a large number attending online. So I'm excited you've all chosen to attend this. I've been submitting conference proposals on AI all year, and this is my first one that's accepted. So I had plenty of things to say, too many. Hopefully I picked the right ones for this. If not, and you want to talk about AI, find me afterwards, and I will happily talk about AI with you. So first I'll do a little bit about me. My name is Ella. I work here on campus for the School of Education out of Merritt Library. I have been with the School of Ed about 9 years now, and before that I spent a little bit of time with Do It, specifically departmental support. I managed computer labs at Do It and then also at Merritt, and then now I manage the help desk as well. Let's see, I'm gonna try the slide advancer. Nope, I clicked off of the presentation. I got it here. All right. So this is a little bit about me. I am the daughter of an art educator and a computer scientist. And I have since I was very young. This is a picture of second grade, I believe, on the left, on your left, teaching my class about dinosaurs. So I've been for a very long time been passionate about things and tried to teach others about them, whether or not I fully understood them. And on the right here is me with my dad's computer. I was looking at my hands last night, thinking about where my right hand was, and thought, oh yes, this was the time before the mouse. So this is a very old computer image here. I have been very passionate throughout my life about technology, and my career in higher education IT has been my favorite career so far of the ones that I've had. And then my mind went blank. All right, so I have, like I said, been teaching folks about things I don't quite fully understand since I was very young. Also in second grade, I did a whole session on how babies grow inside their mother's wombs. It didn't occur to me until later that I did not actually know how the babies work, how they got there in the first place. The good news for this session is I do know about how AI works and how it came to be. So now a little bit about me and AI. We met at a coffee shop. Just kidding. I have two sisters. One sister is a graphic designer, and she's always been a bit of a visionary. She can kind of call out trends that are coming or things that are going to happen. In January of 2020, she told me I really ought to pay attention to a virus that was starting to circulate in China. So in February of 23, when she told me I really should pay attention to generative AI, I thought, yeah, okay. So I started immediately playing with the ChatGPT and other forms, and I've spent a lot of time interacting with AI, as well as learning about the whole situation. And so this presentation today is kind of an overview of AI in general, campus AI resources. We'll do a little bit of connection within the group on AI, and then the back half has got more of uses of it in the wild and the future looking. All right, so what is and what isn't generative AI? This is my briefest primer I have created. At its core, it's a probability-based system that takes in language as the code, processes it using algorithms, and outputs the next most likely piece of text, one token at a time. The underlying architecture is an LLM, a large language model, on top of a transformer, and it's the creation of that transformer, the T in GPT, that has really enabled the future revelations and possibilities of AI that we've seen in the last couple of years here. Generative AI is not sentient, even though it'll talk to you like it is, because it's really just trying to guess what it is the next thing you want to hear it say, because it's very sensitive to the words that you use. If you think about it, the language that you input is the code that it uses to run the natural language processing. So it thinks about your tone and your tenor and your language choice, and it responds in kind. So if you want it to tell you it's a robot stuck in a box, it will totally tell you that, but don't believe it. Probably. I don't know. Not yet. All right. So UW-Madison has been, from my perspective, doing a pretty good job, both educating people about AI and enabling AI tools and research on campus, as well as paying attention to ethics and trustworthy AI. We'll get to all that. So they've been hiring faculty in AI. I know from a support perspective, we had our art department, School of Ed includes the art department. We had someone reach out to us about supporting a system that would run an LLM, like create their own from scratch for the art department, or maybe it was imagery, like Midjourney. And when we looked into just how large and how expensive it was, we suggested some other resources on campus, which we'll get to in a minute. The campus here has enabled campus supported use. They've provided guidelines around what types of data should go in and should not go into AI systems. There have been guidelines for ethical use. We'll get more into the ethics a little bit later. And there's been a general encouragement for experimentation and learning. I know that the libraries has a group for getting together to talk about generative AI, and research is happening. So I found this on Gartner, and I thought this was a good way to think about AI from a leadership perspective, is the actual technology structure that is needed to support it. And as you can see, it's the infrastructure, the models, the tools, and the apps. And the models is kind of where those LLMs fall, like it says right there. And then the infrastructure are things that we have on campus, such as the Center for High Throughput Computing, where they can run, where they have a massive amount of computing power. Campus also has enabled meeting assistance in Zoom and the other one, WebEx, there we go, in Zoom and WebEx, and allows use through NetID of Microsoft's Copilot and Google, and as of this week, I think Google's Gemini. My experimentation with Gemini so far has been less than stellar. I don't recommend yet. Maybe it'll get better. And campus also, I don't think I've included it on the slide, but campus does also offer AI web services that fall around that model level, where you can build your own, like train your own LLM. And those are a paid service, like Amazon and Microsoft and Google each have one of those services, and those are available here on campus as well. Gartner also wrote the pillars of a successful artificial intelligence strategy, which we need to think about it as leaders. We need to think about AI from more than a technology perspective. We need to think of investments in data management and change management, which was kind of our talk this morning, as well as AI literacy, risk mitigation, trust, and governance. One interesting way that the university is mitigating risk in AI is that each department was able to decide, but schools or colleges were able to decide whether or not they would whether or not and how they would use AI meeting assistants. So we kind of decentralized the risk and spread it out a little bit. So when we're thinking about AI, we can tie together those stacked layers of what is needed, and then this goes around behind that. Ethics are always like the most important consideration when thinking about and creating AI, because safety, human safety. Earlier this year, I co-program chaired a conference, the SIGUX conference, the ACM SIGUX conference, and we brought in an ACM speaker, Carol Smith, who is a senior research scientist at Carnegie Mellon. Carol created for the conference, or in general in life, her focus is ethics in emerging technologies. So her whole career has been right at this line. And she created this framework around any new technology. It doesn't just have to be AI, but does the technology align with your organization's priorities? Is your organization ready for an emerging technology? What is your organization's appetite for risk? And are there established technologies that do the same thing? And while the next piece, a human always needs to be in charge, wasn't in her framework, it was something she highly stressed during the conference. There always needs to be that off button. There needs to be a human who looks at the data and decides whether or not it is correct. I have a good story for this, but I think it comes later. You always have to keep a human in the mix, because I don't know if we should ever give this the power to make that type of choices and decisions to AI. And the campus AI ethics site links to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and they describe the characteristics of trustworthy AI systems to be valid and reliable, safe, secure, and resilient, accountable, transparent, explainable, and interpretable, privacy enhanced, and fair with harmful bias managed, because AI is created by humans and it reflects the biases of the humans who created it. There are ways to remove bias by running various bias removal algorithms, but if we don't know our biases are there, they're going to be perpetuated. Through looking up, spending this entire last couple weeks in a very deep dive onto AI, I learned this in multiple places, but started with Gartner, is that the next thing is coming. So we've been on this progress since, it's been 2 years now since GPT 3.5 came out. And in that time, we've come a very long way in the, let's call it, intelligence of the system, the ability of the system to respond and to think, we can call it. But the current structure of the GPTs and LLMs is possibly coming to a top level as far as this technology is going to be able to go. It doesn't mean there won't be future technologies or things that come out of this, but as far as the current level is going, we're near the pinnacle, likely. Nobody knows for sure. But the next thing that's coming, instead of being more intelligent AI, is going to be agentic AI. I found there's some great articles in multiple places about what agentic AI is going to look like. But my basic understanding from spending a lot of time trying to understand it is there'll be like a user interface that's an LLM at the top, and then underneath it will have maybe multiple layers of those transformers that write the GPT. So almost like a brain where you have the prefrontal cortex and your whatever else is in your brain. There's other things in there. And so the device will be able to make its own decisions, because it will pull the information in, it will process it, and then it'll be like, oh, there's a mistake here, and send it back in. So this is going to operate more independently and more autonomously than our current just kind of chats that we're having with AI. The agentic AI will involve more of that compute power and more of those layers within them. So if you're thinking about the future and what it's going to look like, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this. I've been thinking about it kind of like your marketing department can now be an AI, because it can plan the schedule and it can plan the message, and you just kind of feed it your objectives, and it can, and maybe what your product looks like, and it can kind of figure it all out and set the schedule and write the emails and send them out. But I don't think anybody has quite nailed it yet, but I do think this is what is coming next, is the agentic AI. All right, so that's a little bit about a base layer understanding of AI for us. So now we're going to take a minute. I will set up some breakout rooms in the Zoom in a second, but if we could break into small groups of 4 or 5, if possible, we could follow our keynote speaker's request to meet new people. This would be a good way to do that. So if you want to stretch your wings a little bit and see who's in the room you haven't had a conversation with before, this would be a great time for that. We are going to share where we work and what we do. We are going to share our own experience with generative AI to this point, and what the most interesting thing you've heard of done, whether that's in your personal life or on campus. We will then come back and share. Your group does not need to share, but if you come up with things that you feel you want to share, we will share those. So you don't need like a recorder and a reporter, but we'll share out as we are interested. All right, and we're going to take about 12 minutes for this. So go ahead and find groups of 4 or 5. I'm going to get you in group breakout groups on the Zoom, and then we're good. I'll call us back when it's time.
Oh, basically, I'm in central HR. I currently live in real estate. My neighbors have been there to do some documents. But yeah, training. So I'm like, my strong. We're kind of ticketing switch training develop our thing is question around it. And then if there is a replacement, my wife sits and I'm positioned and is
but you know, I'll ask
based on
make
yeah, yes. Our teams are
like somebody your research
we're not a team.
Yeah, like
so
something that you're about it, incredibly serious that they're taking
perfectly no context, things like what. So generative AI, I've seen it much
we're being anybody because it's taking money. They've started and they saw
you know where a lot of
like
get
that in AI
I see that
and it's been found something in that which is nice kind of
sit around I don't know what to really it can be helpful. I don't want to touch but I'm seeing it a lot of these and even adults who are trying to get through an interview process. That way, but that's actually
and that's where my
I don't want to
management cycle. People getting. Yeah, Raft. Big.
Other things, so like I.
And so I'm.
rotation for here's on background. Really good.
It's something I've.
But it has a downside.
Yeah.
I still not putting.
I know that's not the question.
I could have been
Learning about how.
It still has to stay.
It feels like that is the quintessential, especially when you know how to use critical thinking, like ChatGPT, programming, but if you don't know what you're trying to answer, it's very hard to get a good response. Kudos to you for all that data. Sure, right. And I know, I'm hearing interesting things on campus.
I'm not really reading to that but one challenge
And it's interesting because
is
used to.
when doing a general research,
That's
something like is something, and I will see. That's my and that's really what I've done so far. So I have a lot of
Some of it.
I did chat also the class like just to see like menus and stuff like that.
In. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
We rather together to figure out if that happened. Making software.
Never.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like a question.
Yeah.
Well,
questioning ourselves.
But I
I see,
Other question.
like a R.
Yeah.
At like package
Millions.
oh, wow. Pretty intimidating. Yeah.
We don't know where. Like 10 or 5 months.
Okay, so suggested I and then just to say that every now I did try to troubleshoot.
Right there on our phones.
Yeah, I don't know how it's
And though there's trading, that's part of what it is. Something small like I'll definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The example of the explaining how.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think it's very.
Yeah.
I don't know. AI.
But the stuff that I'm.
One thing that I'm very interested in, like not even my coding system is identity, and so very basic like AI thing, and I'm doing a lot of major smart made like a basically it's just like the so it's fun. It sounds like it's better advancements, but that's really like It's
very excited.
And that like you'll learn based on
Like, so if you raspberry.
About 1 more minute.
to basically learn based on your timing, when you want lights on, like
That's where I come in.
So you don't need to be like, hey, set a timer. Like, hey, I need a timer. I don't have a chance to, like very intrigued and also be your I don't have very information outside.
I guess I do actually have that. Yeah. I noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Use it as a writer. Just flat out wrong.
All right, I'm going to close the breakout rooms. If we could come on back. Oh,
Figure it out.
50. The breakout rooms have 50 seconds, so you can.
So.
No, they're still chatting in the breakout rooms. They got 30 seconds left. Trying to squeak out every second from the combo. That's a good sign.
Tackle this. That's what they try to throw it out there and they go. That was smart.
Oh, just if there's anything. All right. Thank you, everybody. We are all back now. If there is anything from your group that you discussed that you would like to share, we would like to hear it. Laurel's going to bring the microphone around, and if you're online, you can unmute. Laurel's watching the chat there as well. Anything interesting or
Anything interesting you want to highlight? Thanks.
Something that came up with us is even if you think you're not using it, you actually are using it. So just talking about how, when you're Googling or looking at other sites that it's pushing you into AI responses. So even if you don't think you've started to explore that, you kind of are. So you're already a little bit partway there. So.
Anyone else in the room?
One thing that came up with us was much like Google, ChatGPT and other text-based ones, you kind of have to know what you want as an answer, because if you just start typing stuff in, it might not give you what you actually are looking for yet. It hasn't quite gotten to that level.
An area that's we find our group has found important is to understand source of information, and so we think ChatGPT does a great job sourcing millions of pieces of information, but is it a blend of red, like the red wine, where you get a blend of a variety of different wines and you really don't know what kind of wine you're drinking? So ChatGPT is kind of like that. They grab everything and it sounds really good, probably tastes really good, but where's the majority of that source from? And so from a training development person, I have to know what source. What is it? 100%, or is it not? And if it's not, what am I getting? So understanding the source is really important from that standpoint.
A couple of virtual groups said, one said, we discussed that we still have to fact check. Someone else said, AI in medical scenarios is fraught with risk, and I'm not sure how to advise my customers in those kinds of situations.
Well, thank you. These are all really good and important thoughts. I want to talk a little bit, Actually not sure what's on my second slide or my next slide. Yeah. All right. Perfect. This leads right in. So AI is a tool that is in process. And I think that what we were saying about source and how true and fact checking it is part of that bit that Carol Smith shared about how a human always needs to be involved. We're not at a point where AI, like the NIST standards of it, is both reliable and valid. Sometimes it's reliable, sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's neither. Story that I have about this, which I read late last night after I'd turned in my slide deck, was a story about a real life medical trial where when a user went, this was, I believe, in the UK, when a user went to contact their doctor, they said, if you'd like, you can try talking to our chatbot first. And it was 1,000 people were involved in this trial and selected to talk to the chatbot first. And it was like 962 of the 1,000 people got good answers, just what they needed. It was great. And then like 35 people or whatever did, it was okay, but maybe not what they were looking for. But one person's was such a, whatever was the AI said, it got flagged, it got censored, it got removed so that the user couldn't see it anymore. So it's just this, right? Like, sure, maybe it's valid 962 times, but that last time where that one person is getting that really bad information, the wine analogy, it reminds me of this Bob's Burgers scene where they're tasting wine, trying to guess what it is, and it ends up it's the spit bucket. So this one poor user received the spit bucket there. So it's it is important to remember that we're really not at a place yet where the AI can do anything on its own. And will we get to that place? Again, that's maybe yes, maybe no. We're not really sure where we're going yet. I do, from my own experiences with AI over the last couple years, will say that it's not the tool for everything. There are some things it is a tool for, and there are some things it is not a tool for. When I have used it to plan trainings, I will ask it, you know, what could this training look like? Here's the parameters, and it'll give me the results. And me as a person, well, this won't work. That would take too much time, but this activity could be interesting if I adjusted it to like be a real activity and not just did it the way the AI said. So I think it's almost like an enhancement to help you think outside your own head on ideas. So kind of like a thought partner. This nursing home monitoring that I listed here, this was another one that I found while I was looking for like, where has AI taken us in the last couple of years? What it was is in Britain, I guess they're really into AI over in the UK. They don't have a lot of staff for their nursing homes. And so instead they filled the rooms with these AI sensors. And now the AI can tell the staff that do work there if the person gets out of bed at night, or if they're using the bathroom more frequently, or if they have a pain face while they're walking down the hall. And I guess it's kind of cool, but it's also extremely dystopian. Is that the future? Are we going to live in these AI nursing homes? I mean, some people are right now. Have we thought about all the pieces? Does it report everything accurately? I don't know, but here we are testing it in real time. The agriculture enhancements, I was trying to find a way to display this. It's both in medicine and in agriculture. Basically, one of the things this is a good tool for, remember I said it's not a tool for everything. One of the things it is a good tool for is parsing massive data sets and looking for patterns. So both in agriculture and in medicine, those are places where it can look through these huge data sets and see things that maybe humans can't. And it has done that. It has helped increase yields from fields by finding the right seeds for the growing conditions there. And it's helped find, so far, it's going to like medicinal breakthroughs that we haven't seen before. And then so far, the increase we've seen from ChatGPT 3.5 to the 01 preview has been massive. I used to ask it questions and would be like, oh, I can't do that. I'm just a chatbot. And now it'll be like, oh, sure, I can blend these highly detailed theories together and find where I can tell you what's the same between a hurricane and a black hole. Why not? Here's their shared equations. So we've really come quite a long way in those last couple of years there. I don't know where that little voice came from. I think someone is unmuted. I was like, is it the AI? Is it joining the chat?
It's a child.
So these are my thoughts on AI. All that is the like instructional piece on AI. And this is what I think after spending a lot of time with it. I see AI as more of a mirror than a tool because, like I said before, it kind of reflects what you put into it. And so your language is the code. You are telling it how you want to respond. And in things, let's say in psychology, clinical psychology, when you're trying to ask questions from a very objective position and you're trying not to ask leading questions. It's the same when you're talking with the AI. If you want the answers to not be exactly what you want to hear, you have to phrase it so that it has the opportunity to think through the entire data set instead of a very specific piece of the data set. I think that it is, I know from conversations with people that I've had over the last couple of years that people are very wary of it and scared of it. I know people who still haven't tried it, who won't try it. They're concerned about privacy. That's a fair concern. They're concerned about where the data is coming from, what's in the background. But I think that if you play with it, and I'm really going to use the word play, like if you experiment, if you try to give it thoughts and ideas and see what it looks like to have a mirror of your own intelligence. Maybe the people who use AI, if it's a mirror of your intelligence, do you get different answers if you think about things differently? You can do the basics, write a meeting agenda, write a song. For the longest time, people were really into trying to get it to count the number of R's in strawberry, which it cannot do for some reason. It's not a tool for everything. It doesn't like counting R's. I don't know. But maybe you can get it to count the R's in strawberry correctly. It really thinks there's only 2 R's in strawberry. One thing that I have done that I found really interesting is to write the start of a story and then put that same start of a story into different AIs and see how they finish it. So Meta AI, I don't use it very much, but it is surprising. For the free cost, it is the best quality AI you can access with the most features for free. To ChatGPT, to Claude, and to Copilot, and see how each one finishes the story. And you can kind of get a feel for the differences in AIs and the textures and the way that they lead the story, whether they mirror your own writing. It's just an interesting little exercise. And then the general reminder to always keep the human in that process. One piece I forgot about that medical trial in Britain was that every message that the AI saw was reviewed by a human within 15 minutes. I feel like that was an important part of the process. Always keep that human in the process. And beware of bias. Those are both your biases and the biases of the AI. And they can kind of, as it's a mirror, it can make your bias bigger and stronger. And if you don't know that it's there, you don't know that it's there. But I also think that this bit about thought experiments, I've been thinking about this lately. If you're not taking care of someone's health and you're really just asking questions like what shared equations do black holes and hurricanes have, you can use it as a tool to get you to a certain point. Now, if you don't know what that math is, you're not going to know if it's telling you the right answer or not. But someone out there might know the right answer or be able to do that math, and being able to look into being able to think outside the box and have those thought experiments have led to scientific breakthroughs, the most famous thought experiments being Einstein and a train and a beam of light that led to relativity. So it seems scary that to some people the AI, or it seems useless to some people the AI, but I think the best thing we can all do is play, just to kind of understand what it is that it can do. What is our experience and what do we think of it? And
Just a holiday gift idea.
yeah.
There's a company out there that's writing parody books on people's lives.
Oh.
So if you have a significant other in your life, you can just fill out all these questions. They have questions AI generated. You fill in the answers to the questions, and it's a book about the answers. And so you could probably do it without paying the money.
Sure.
You could create a book or a story about, and it's the holiday gift option that I keep seeing on feeds.
The holiday gift that the algorithms really want you to purchase
That everybody $99.
is the AI based book for anybody who couldn't hear, because I have the microphone. That's okay. An AI service that you give them a bit of information about someone, and then they can turn that into a book that you can give them for the holidays.
So I'm sure you could do that on your own.
Yeah, but you could also give it a shot on your own. See if Meta writes it differently than Microsoft Copilot. All right. So what comes next? I have you may or may not have heard the term AGI, which stands for Artificial General Intelligence. To some people, AGI is theoretical. To some people, AGI is going to happen in short order. And I don't know where the reality of that is. We're going to find out as we go along. But this is another piece where I think those thought experiments can be important. In the School of Ed, we have a faculty, Bernadette Baker, who has been researching AI for a long time, and she thinks that we're going to come to a point where all of the skills that humans have now are going to be unnecessary, and we're going to have to learn or do something completely different because of the change of the AI will bring. Is that the future? I don't know. Could it hurt to think about it? Not really. It might be worth thinking about whether or not it could come to pass. What could a future look like after this? So I just thought I would put that on leaders' radars, since we like to zoom out and we like to think about the future. And if AGI does come in the next 5 to 10 years, which is according to some people, a real possibility, the world could look like a very different place. I was just in a conversation on LinkedIn yesterday where the discussion was around, can we pause AI development so we don't get AGI in the next couple of years, maybe the next 4 years? But I don't know. I don't know what's coming. But I did want you to be aware that these are discussions that are being had out in the world of technology. And we have a couple more minutes here. We're just maybe 5 minutes in the groups and then a little bit of time for questions. We're going to jump back into our groups, and we're going to talk about something we learned today and something that you are going to try as a result of this conversation today. Something that you learned about generative AI today, and something that you'll try as a result of your learning today.
Especially
right, and so outright there are things it does well. So figure out
always like the
structure. Yeah, right, great. Exactly.
Featuring AI, and she finds that it was.
But since the great conversation,
Well, it's both language. Yeah, like
I read the consent report.
for the world. And we were both on together. It's so much like what they do. What's you trusted? But with the way that it's.
So I have learned.
I don't think so. See that. I think it's real. Is giant.
Right, yeah, I agree.
It's centers to.
And now I'm.
This is Monday. We don't have mountain.
All right, I'm gonna call everybody back. So about one more minute, about one more minute.
How do I handle it?
Yeah, I know,
That's where I got all this. Have to spit out.
I was just playing with this, trying to left the plan. Teaching, like.
Yeah.
I think that's. And it's a line, it's a line.
We've got about 30 seconds left.
Oh. I know somebody. Yeah, right.
Figure that out, 90%.
So I've tried, how to
Was that? It's not gonna do that. They just want to actually as well. So give me the 5. So I think the. The thought experiment. No, that's okay. Without.
All right, everybody is back. If there is anything you want to share or any questions you have, we're going to use these last 10 minutes for sharing or questions and answers. So if anybody's got anything, I'm going to pass the mic to Laurel.
So as people begin to think of any questions or comments, there was one earlier in the chat that I wanted to read out. Andrew says, I worry about the on the surface and hidden ethical considerations of AI, intellectual property, misinformation, sustainability, labor, and how it will change cognition, etc. One comment. And I find myself still thinking of AI as more of a toy than a tool, but there are some interesting applications. I think as more folks incorporate it into already existing products, its use cases will become more clear. We have a question. In that slide about AI and ethics on the NIST site, they mention AI should be explainable as a standard. Can you share your thoughts about that? A lot of these systems are kind of black boxes. So I guess I'm wondering, how do we decide when something is explainable enough? Yes.
I think that is a really good question. When I was personally reading the NIST standards, I think we'll have a hard time getting to the explainability of AI because of the black box situation. I almost see the way that the back end works, which is like running algorithms, like I said, some that mirror our own neural pathways, as in a way like a quantum process, like a probability based process, right? Like it's going to put out something that we don't know the answer to, and we may not, maybe explainable is going to look different. That's kind of what I feel about intellectual property as well, that it's going to look different in the future. The way that society thinks about these things may need to change to meet the technology. Kind of like our keynote said this morning, that technology is advancing faster than humans can understand it. And I think these might be a couple pieces that are going to come along with that. I think it's honorable and important to want to understand where it's all coming from and why it's all coming from and how it all got there. But I don't know that we are going to know that. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
Okay. All right, thanks.
A piece that's on my mind from the perspective of leadership or developing leadership is what I see as the direction that the prevalence of AI will take us culturally and in the workforce is it'll be more of a consolidation to the mean as more people use it, because it'll be a reflection of the average of what everybody has already created, and then it will be reproductions of that average over and over again. And then you're going to have a situation where, without intervention or leadership making strong decisions around it, you're going to have really generic and possibly small-minded outputs, depending on what field you're working in. And it strikes me that one role that leaders now should have is to think about how you can use it as a tool that doesn't wind up preventing you from that leads you to miss out on the perspectives, the ingenuity, the alternative views that an actual diverse coalition of people working in a group on a shared project can produce. You know, the like marketing department being replaced, jokish thing that you said earlier. It's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, you could have a pretty bad marketing plan, or even forecast into the future. Okay, someday it might be able to make a really good marketing plan or whatever, but you're going to have the most basic version of the mean marketing plan versus something that has a little more human diversity to it and flaws and other things that make. And I think culturally we're going to want that at some point. Like right now we're all playing with this. I'm rambling now, but I think humans need to keep an eye on what makes us flawed as part of what makes us good. Okay.
Anyone else in the room? We had someone online say open source AI is the way to go. People need to control the data and these data models.
On the what Nick said, it came from AI, but I had a discussion the other day, and because I was like, is there going to be a point where like everything is created, like everyone could have created everything? And it talked about the differences in creation, and that like while AI could make 1 million copies with just one change in each one, humans need that meaningful novelty. And I thought that was a good concept. Whether or not my conversation matters, we can just take that phrase, meaningful novelty. And I think that is something that humans crave in the world. And we do find the flavor text really boring. I was talking to a friend who was hiring students, and they sent the students a tell us about yourself questionnaire, and half the questions came back with the same answer. Like the students just plugged it into AI and just answered for the AI. And it was like supposed to be a personal questionnaire. Like who cares what the AI thought about it? But I also have a thought about AI in that when we remove those answers that are all identical, it doesn't mean we're removing all the AI, because there are ways that you can train the AI to be more novel and to present different results. Like I was writing a letter, and I did it by, I had an evaluation of myself that I included, and I had something that I'd written about my processes included, and I uploaded those, and I said, using these and this, like, then turn this into something else. And it did. It was way better than if I had just been like, do this. And so that's why I encourage play, because you're going to learn how to try different things and get it to do different things. It's like an experimental process. Well, what if I say this? Well, what if I say it this way? What if I say it that way? What changes when I do it this? And so that's like my biggest takeaway I want you all to have, is to go play with it. See what you can see. Yep, we got a question, Laurel. Right here.
What do you think about the personalization of AI? Because right now it seems like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, they give the most generic answers ever to like almost everything. So what do you think is the possibilities or the future of personalized AI?
Have you seen the movie Her? I think those digital assistant sci-fi style is pretty realistic. If the I don't think we're there yet, but the OpenAI demonstrated the AI personal assistant style last May it was, and we haven't quite got there, but the more it learns about you, the more it's going to be able to answer to your needs. AI, not the non-generative AI, is already baked into everything we do. It's in our algorithms that we decide what to watch on Netflix. It's in our photo processing on our cell phones. Like so many things that we interact with without even thinking about it have been touched by that machine learning and the AI piece. And I think it's probably going to be like boiling a frog. We just don't notice it, and we don't notice it, and then suddenly the AI knows everything about us, and it's going to sound really different. But you could like upload a description about yourself and then say, you know, this is how I like things. How do you, answer it with my preferences in mind already, and see if that changes the answers for you.
So unfortunately, oh, okay. It has to be very, very quick.
I don't know if I can do that. Very, very quick. I think who owns the AI is really important, and will become more important. Right now, the biggest players in AI are operating at multi-billion-dollar losses annually, and at some point, their investors are going to expect them to recoup those losses and find a way to monetize this. And I think if we reach the point where industry and academia and everybody have become reliant on AI for various critical core functions, and then they start saying, actually, this isn't free anymore, or actually, this is not just $20 a month or whatever, we're going to find ourselves being leveraged out of some really important tasks, and value recouping is going to be a problem in the future.
Thank you.
Totally.
That's about all the time we have for today's session. Ella, you want to have the last word?
I totally agree with that. I think we need to consider both the equitable and ethical use. Even the AIs we have here on campus were chosen for their cost, and there are some schools where they pay for them to have their own, like Michigan State chatbot or whatever, that has all the university's information in it. And so we do need to bear in mind the same things that we do for anything else. Thank you all for coming today. If you want to continue this conversation, find me. I'll be here.